Good evening, hockey fans, and welcome to another episode of American Beauties, your home for AHL news, notes, talkers, and more. We are brought to you by the Old City Sports Network. My name is Dan Bradley. Alongside me tonight, Sam Wismer. Sam, how you doing?
We were having clickage issues, okay?
It's okay. A little bit of it. Well, I blame myself because I also didn't remind you like I normally do before the show about rolling the video.
Listen,
And I was like hovering over the button to like click it and play it. And I was like, am I going to do it? Is Sam going to do it? Are we both going to do it at the same time? And it's going to start and stop. It happens. Life goes on. Outside of that, how you doing?
It's just been a crazy 2 weeks at work, and I can't keep my mind straight. Plus covering games, plus everything else.
You're out here, carrying the team on your back, and we appreciate it. You put together a heck of a show tonight, so we're excited to jump right in. Let's go ahead and start with our AHL Player of the Week. Max McCormick is our star of the week. Notched 4 goals and 4 assists for 8 points in 3 games as the Firebirds reach the halfway point of the season on a league-leading pace. Through 37 games this season, McCormick already set career highs, 24 assists and 42 points. He's the leading scorer for Coachella, atop the Pacific, atop the AHL standings at 27-6-3-1. Good for 58 points. Sam, really a remarkable season for Max McCormick, and almost in some ways kind of surprised it's taken this long for him to get this honor and recognition.
Well, if Coachella will email me back.
No subtle green's my color. It's blue.
It does look a little green.
Okay. Oh, you know what? It kind of does, but it's blue. But yeah, I'll take it. If he thinks I look good, I'll take it. Thanks, Jesse.
Yeah. So Max was a 6th round choice by Ottawa in the 2011 draft. He signed as a free agent with Seattle on September 30th of 2021. He skated in 93 games in the NHL with Ottawa, Carolina, and Seattle, and he recorded 8 goals and 5 assists.
There we go. Yeah, blues are colored. Thanks, Jesse. It really is. But yeah, back to McCormick here. Coachella is so good, and we're going to talk about this next week. Next week's show, by the way, 8:45 start time, not 8:30. We'll mention this a couple more times throughout the show. We're going to do kind of a mid-season roundup on where things are at. We do have a couple of guests who are going to be joining the show that we're super excited about. But we're all going to talk about how solid of a season Coachella is having, to the surprise of, I guess, a few of us anyway, who thought, they might be in the. I don't think anyone saw, first in the league at the halfway point of the season coming, and McCormick's leadership on and off the ice, I think, is a very big part of that. We talked about the leading goal scorers across the AHL, and you've got 4 of the top 12 are playing for Coachella. McCormick currently 6th in the AHL in points at 42, 18 goals, 24 assists, as we mentioned earlier, a plus 19. I know we don't put a whole lot of stock into plus minus unless it's really to one extreme or the other, but I mean, plus 19, it's pretty solid, pretty respectable. 7 power play goals this year, 2 shorthanded goals. So clearly getting things done in all situations. And somebody who, if Coachella is going to make a deep run this year, they need to lean on guys like Max McCormick. And so far, he has really stepped up and delivered.
And Seattle is an organization that has really managed their call-ups well.
Yes. Outside of the Shane Wright situation, but that's different.
Let's not talk about that.
That's not an AHL call-up, so we will put that little.
I'm a little salty about that.
Yeah.
Just they have had minimal injuries, and once the call up is finished and that guy comes back from injury and is good to go, they send the person back down. That's how you're supposed to manage it. Not supposed to call 10 million people up at once.
Sam, tell us how you feel about injuries and calling 10 million people up at once.
I'd rather not talk about that.
Yeah, we'll move on. Back to McCormick, back to Seattle and Coachella.
Oh yeah, me.
Yeah.
See,
it's all good.
Fried. This is how fried my brain is.
You know what? It happens. We'll just keep rolling and pretend.
Max is a great player. As you hear my sister's dog barking. Great player.
He's trying to hype up Max.
And Coachella is very good. It's a very, very good team, and I wouldn't be shocked if they make an extremely deep run this year.
Yeah, we've talked about it before. We'll talk about it next week as well. I'm bought in on Coachella, on what they're doing, on the run that they're on this year, on how I frankly think they're built over the next couple of years, just to see where they're going to go. Skylar is pretty excited here for with a woot woot for the Coachella Firebirds. I'm sold on this team. I'm bought into what they're doing. I really think, like I said last week, that there's 5 teams right now who I think I really can confidently say, like, yes, this team is going to make a deep playoff run. Coachella is one of those teams. And when you're at the league lead at the halfway point of the season, really a good spot for Coachella to be. And I think that trend is going to continue.
And with the Atlantic division being as tight as it is, the top 2 teams are the ones that are going right now, because 3 through 6 is anybody's game right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, we saw last week Lehigh jumped up to 3rd, and then within a day they were back down to 5th place. And I'm like, anyway.
And now currently at 4th, 1 point behind Charlotte with a game in hand.
My team, but anyway.
Mm-hmm. Had to figure out a way to work Lehigh into our opening segment here.
Listen,
I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
They're coming up.
Like I said, I think they're a good team. I picked them to be a playoff team at the beginning of the year. Wasn't I can't remember who I said was going to take the Atlantic. I didn't. I don't think I said Hershey, and I don't think I said Providence, and I don't think I said Hershey. So I think you said Hershey as well, and you nailed that one.
Hershey's too. Like, I get scared when any team has to face Hershey. Yeah, because I'm like automatic loss.
I'm very glad that my Iowa Wild do not have to play them on any sort of a consistent basis. That is a team as well that scares me.
What's it like to feel lucky?
Oh boy, any franchise that has a connection to Minnesota sports, I don't know that they can be said to be lucky, but Iowa's had a little bit of luck this year, and a little bit of skill along the way as well. So that's sure. I'm happy with where things are at, but I still think there's a lot more to prove for Iowa, who, again, the difference between 2nd and 5th in the Central is 4 points. So
it's such a tight league this year.
It really is. But again, showing how tight those teams are that are in the middle of each of these divisions, I think really speaks volumes to how well Coachella, Hershey, Providence, Calgary at the top of the standings, how much those teams have kind of separated themselves from the pack already, with just that cluster of teams. I would say 6 through 20 right now, maybe even 22. There's so little to separate those teams right now. And we're going to see those differences as the season carries on, and which teams are prepared to battle it out and go deep into the playoffs, or even just to make it to the playoffs, which teams are going to fade down the stretch, just don't have all the firepower this year that they need. But Max McCormick and Coachella are poised for that deep run. And a well-deserved honor this week, I would say, for McCormick. And an 8-point week, 8 points in 3 games, that'll get you noticed.
That just went.
Yeah, it was like, whoa, hello, where did this come from? Like, we knew you were having a good season, but that much of a heater, good on you.
Oh, it was just like Louis Belpedio got 2 goals in one night the other. I was like,
Hmm.
"Sir, are you
Yeah,
feeling okay?"
yeah. So
But,
that's where we're at with our star of the week.
we also AHL has a all-star game coming up.
They sure do. Laval going to be hosting. They had two canceled editions of the All Star game during the COVID-19 pandemic. I said that weird. COVID-19. I don't know why I said it the way I did. Long day, long night. Yeah, we had practice at 6 o'clock this morning, and
Oof.
yeah, thankfully, it looks like might knock on wood be canceled tomorrow.
Yeah,
We're supposed to get dumped on with snow, and
yeah,
all
we're
of the snow that we had is melting and turning to ice. So not
yeah,
great.
we're supposed to be getting a little bit of snow tomorrow. My ECHL team is on their way up. They should be there soon, within the next, like, 2-ish hours to Quebec to play the team up there.
Mhm.
Um, so hopefully they make it up there safely.
Laval hosting the All Star game after two canceled editions due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The 2023 AHL All Star Classic, presented by Bell in collaboration with Manulife Bank, will finally take place February 5th and 6th at Place Bell in Laval. Um, Sam, I am really excited for the AHL All Star game. I think more so than in years past, and part of that as well by being a part of the show and really the extra focus I've had on the AHL this season. Um, I'm hyped for what this game is going to bring. What can you tell us about the rosters so far, and what fans and players alike can expect heading into All Star Weekend?
So there were 2 people from Laval who, are going to be representing the team there, and it's forward Anthony Richard and defenseman Justin Barron. Justin is 21 years old, and he was actually called up to the Montreal Canadiens, which is the parent team of Laval, on December 27th, and he's in his second year. And Barron has showed talent and became an important part of the team this year as well. So as you said before, more than 3 years after the event was first announced on January 31st, 2020. My God, how is that 3 years ago already? That's
It's
like, I'm
it's
sorry,
3 years, and honestly, it's felt like 5.
that's crazy. Oh my God. Anyway, the AHL stars will finally be in Laval for this really cool event. I know the NHL has their All Star. I know the ECHL has their All Star, which they already had. But I mean, the AHL hasn't had one in 3 years. Um, and this will be the first one. The Rockets are in their final stages of preparing. And it'll begin next. Is it next Saturday? Next Saturday? Maybe no. It'll
It,
Saturday, February 4th. So 2 weeks.
it,
Or no,
yeah,
it is a week.
yeah,
It is
yeah,
a week.
yeah.
Oh
It's not this upcoming weekend. It's the following weekend.
my God. Okay, so it is a
We are
week.
already almost to February. That's the really scary part.
And the All Star Skills Competition will take place Sunday, February 5th at 6 p.m. And I'm pretty sure you can catch us on AHL TV.
Yeah, so definitely we'll be tuning in for that. Looking at the rosters as they've been announced, um,
They're crazy. They are crazy skilled.
they're so good. Um, I really, I think the Atlantic is probably in the best position with who all we've seen announced so far. Um, but any one of these teams really has a shot to win this thing.
And
Wouldn't be surprised anyway. Like the Pacific roster is good. My boy Sammy Walker representing the Central. Um,
and
it's
I got a
a loaded
question
roster.
I think it was like last week or the week before when it got announced that Cam York is going to the AHL All-Star.
Hmm.
And the comment said, "Wait, isn't he in the NHL?" And I said, yes, he's in the NHL, but he does not qualify to go to the NHL All-Star because of his age. But he qualifies to go to the AHL All-Star, which is why I think they threw him in.
Well, and beyond that too, I mean, just the year he's had, worthy of being an All-Star.
He is breaking out, and I couldn't be more proud of my Yam Cork.
Yeah. that never fails to make me laugh when you say it. Like, I love when we like switch the first letter of a name or something like that. Yam Cork just makes me laugh.
Every time I type it into my phone, the sweet potato emoji pops up.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm very excited for the event. Goaltending, I think, in particular, very much going to be on display. Keeping things with the North, you look at the year that Joseph Woll has had with the Toronto Marlies, playing his way into a situation where Toronto is really going to have to make a decision about, is he going to be the NHL backup next year, or are they going to have to try and move him somewhere else? I think Woll is playing at a level right now where going to be one of your top 5, if not top 3 goaltenders in the AHL this season when all is said and done. But looking ahead to next year, probably in a good position to have an NHL backup job somewhere, even if not with Toronto. So they may have to make a tough call there. Looking at the Central Division, where Yaroslav Askarov is the starting goaltender, he's so good. Like I cannot say enough.
I love when he shuts out.
Yes, it's the coolest celly. Absolutely love that. It's such a good move, rock star move. He'll be the Central Division starting goaltender. Dustin Wolf for the Calgary Wranglers will be starting things in the Pacific. And then for the Atlantic Division, someone we're going to talk about a little later in the show, Brandon Bussi is your starter there. So hint, hint, we call that a tease in the business. Some loaded all-star rosters, and in particular with the goaltending. Frankly, I think one of the better runs of goaltending talent that we've seen at an all-star game. I don't want to say in recent years, because of course with the last couple of years of being canceled, but just looking at some of the recent AHL all-star rosters that we've had, it is stacked for this year.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I'm so excited to not only see my guys, but to see everybody else. I mean, there's so many skilled players, and in the AHL, it's pretty insane. And like I said, I'm like, if you're not paying attention to your prospects in the pipeline and you're going to complain about them when they have 1, 2, 3 bad games. I mean, I got message that, hold on. I got messaged, a Lion is having a rough night. So is DeSmith, though. You're going to complain about these guys who are just having rough nights. You got to think about the team that's in front of them.
Unless you are Connor McDavid, like, everybody has rough nights. That man never seems to have a night off. And when he does, like, holy crap, is it rare? It does happen occasionally, but his off night is still better than a lot of guys on night. That said, though, like, you can't – bad games are going to happen. And whether a goaltender has a bad game and is the reason for a loss, or a defenseman really just had a terrible night in the zone, or a forward who couldn't buy a goal despite throwing 12 shots on net, something like that, bad games happen. You can't put too much stock in that. And especially like Alex Lyon having been a starting at the AHL and being kind of the number 3 goaltender in the system, not being the NHL backup, and now being called up and really playing pretty well in the stint that he's been called up. We had to bring it up at some point, and I walked right into that one. Yeah. So, speaking of all-stars and excellent performances recently, Sam, do you want to take 30 seconds here or so and talk about your boy Alex Lyon and
Oh
the
yeah, he's been
recent
called
run
up
of
in
form
a
that he's been on?
he's been called up to Florida.
Hmm. Sure
And
has.
I mean he had well, the game last night was just
Yeah,
anyway.
and sweep that one under the rug. But
Um yeah, so he's been called up, he's been having starts, and I'm so proud. I really no, a score of a game doesn't really, like you said, it does go against the goaltender, but it doesn't.
it doesn't always show how a goaltender played
There was a tip
as
in
well.
last night that he probably
Mm.
could have got, but, he absolutely robbed Cole Caulfield.
Hmm. Who else did he rob?
Oh my god, who was it from Minnesota?
Everybody.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry about that
I mean,
one.
I could have thrown out a couple names because he did have one in particular where I was like stood up and I was like, "Whoa, okay, Lion, I see you." And
Um,
I am in a chat group with a bunch of Minnesota Wild podcast people, and like I told them, I was like, "The Wild absolutely cannot sleep on Alex Lyon. He is one of the top goaltenders in the AHL. He absolutely can steal a game. Like the Wild cannot phone it in against Alex Lyon." And they kind of did. And look what happened. And I'm surprised it took us 20 minutes into the show to bring this one up.
so yeah, I was celebrating that.
I bet you were. I was
I was
not.
sitting there and I was like, "All right,
I,
Mr.
I,
Bradley, do you have something to say to Alex?"
I got kind of roasted in our group chat about that. Um, you know, my Wild crapped the bed, and Alex Lyon looked really, really good. And I knew he was going to. I just didn't think he was going to look that good. I thought the Wild still might come away with a win, but I was like, be careful with this one. And sure enough, they were not careful, and they lost, and they have to sit and eat it. Um, yeah, that's I think all I'm going to say there on that one. But the Twitter beef we had going on for a day was entertaining. And like I texted you, like there are 364 days out of the year where I'll root for Alex Lyon. Saturday was not one of those days, and yeah, Wild, get it together, please. Thank you.
Just saying, 94 out of 95 shots in the longest AHL game in history.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, aren't you feeling kind of hungry?
I am. It's about snack time here, and Michelle made an awesome dinner tonight. It's like a Brussels sprout carbonara. So I'm
I'm coming to
probably
your
gonna have
house.
some more of that when the show is over here. It's primo stuff. But Righteous Felon beef jerky as well. If you're looking for something to satisfy that afternoon hunger, Righteous Felon, use promo code OCSN. That'll get you 15% off your jerky bundles, meat snacks, subscriptions, more. They've got t-shirts and hats available in their store as well. Some other merchandise that you can get, but promo code OCSN will get you 15% off. I'm finally this upcoming weekend going to get to see family and give them their Christmas presents. And you better believe Righteous Felon is a stocking stuffer there. So I don't think any of them are watching tonight. I don't know that any of them will get the chance to listen to this before this weekend. So I guess whether or not that's the case, surprise everybody, you're getting some Righteous Felon jerky in your stockings this year.
All right.
Yeah, promo code OCSN, 15% off. Sam, we have a milestone that we need to talk about. Captain Cal
Captain, my
O'Reilly,
captain.
700 career AHL points. He is the 25th player in AHL history to record 700 points. Picked that up with an assist in the second period of the game against Wilkes-Barre Scranton in his 17th pro season. 154 goals and 546 assists in 864 regular season games. He's been everywhere: Lehigh, Iowa, Toronto, Rochester, Utica, Portland, Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, and Milwaukee. 7th all time in assists. Really a remarkable milestone for Captain Cal.
My team is just hitting milestones this year, and I'm really proud of Cal. I know that was coming since December 28th.
You had it pegged about mid-October. You're like, in January, Cal's going to hit 700. Like I remember you either said it to me or you texted it somewhere, but you were like, sometime in January, Cal's going to hit 700 points, and we're going to celebrate the bajonkers out of it.
I'm so proud of him. He's been the captain now for 2019, 2020. So this is his 4th season being captain in Lehigh. He really provides such a leadership and a mentor role to the younger kids in the locker room. He's such a nice guy to talk to. Just a wealth of knowledge. His just hockey IQ from playing for so long. He's a dad of 3 under 3.
Oh boy.
Basically, so what happened is that they had a surrogate. Obviously, surrogate was pregnant. Cal's wife became pregnant at the same time. So basically 2 infants, and then they just had their 3rd baby last year. So 3 under the age of 3.
Bless that family. I don't know how they're doing it, but good on them for.
So he's from Toronto. He has skated in 88 Calder Cup playoff games. Hopefully he can bring this team back to the Calder Cup playoffs, recording 15 goals and 44 assists for 59 points in the offseason. And he reached the Calder Cup finals with Milwaukee in 2006 and with Utica in 2015. He was a 2005 draft choice in Nashville. In 2005, I was 17. Just putting that out there. By Nashville in the 5th round, he has played in 145 NHL games with Nashville, Phoenix, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, and Minnesota, recording 16 goals and 33 assists for 49 points.
The way that Nashville has been able to draft and develop throughout the history of that franchise and the pipeline, draft choice, Milwaukee, Nashville. The way that has just been so steadily built. It seems like Nashville always takes players who defense comes first, very responsible in your own end. They are a factory for defense and goaltending. And whether those are players who stay in Milwaukee or stay in Nashville, or whether they're moved to other organizations, there are always quality draft picks who are leaders at whatever level they are at. Not surprised at all that O'Reilly is a captain, has been a captain. Will wear a letter on his sweater until he retires.
As I've said before, I'm pretty sure Cal O'Reilly is going to have a gold statue on the corner of 7th Street in Allentown because he's going to die and retire as a Phantom.
Yep, that's probably what it's going to be. And you look at, for those who don't know as well, his younger brother is Ryan O'Reilly of the St. Louis Blues, who also wears the C on his sweater, by the way. So you talk about just a family of leadership, of quality hockey players, and good people who are doing things the right way, on and off the ice and around the game. It says a lot about both of them as well. There's talk of Ryan getting traded. As cool as it would be to see the two of them in the same organization, I don't know that the Flyers are exactly in on Ryan O'Reilly right now. You never know. Could happen. Maybe this offseason if Chuck Fletcher gets a little feisty. We'll see. We'll leave that to another.
Dan, I'm going to stop you right there.
I shouldn't have brought up that name at all.
You have been under the Chuck Fletcher spell. You know that man does not get feisty.
Well, he makes interesting moves. I think that's the best way that I can put it. They aren't necessarily good moves. They aren't necessarily bad moves. There's just moves that make you go, wait, what? Okay. And sometimes they work out and sometimes they don't, but you never know what Fletcher's going to do. Chuck Fletcher's like a box of chocolates.
I have some people from the ECHL team because there was a player that was added back onto the roster today and then signed out of his standard player contract. And I'm like, they're like, what's happening? I'm like, there's a move that is about ready to be made.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're going to get into the moves here in just a moment with who's up, who's down. But
hi, Mark.
Yeah. Mark chiming in. I love chocolates. Yeah, same here. There is a big bowl of chocolates on the table behind me.
I should be in my seats. I should be in my seats on Friday. Not sure yet. You still owe me that ice cream, buddy.
Oh, called out on the pod. Yeah, going back to Captain Cal here. Really one of the I think it's fair to call him one of the faces of the AHL, and just a steady, solid presence wherever it is that he has played throughout his career. The ice cream emojis in the chat.
Mark has always been one of my biggest supporters, and I couldn't be more grateful for him and his wife.
That's awesome. Thanks, Mark. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, Cal really kind of the gold standard for consistency, high level of play, and one of the faces really of the Phantoms and the AHL as a whole. Congratulations, an awesome accomplishment for Cal O'Reilly.
My captain.
There you go. Who's up, who's down? We did have a couple of moves here that directly tie into Lehigh. So, Sam, I'll let you run with those here a little bit.
Oh boy.
Oh, you don't want to talk about this one, do you?
Felix Sandstrom back up to Philly, and I know people are not happy about that. And Sam Ersson to Lehigh. Yes, Mark. Everybody has to be in white. It is a whiteout night.
That'll be fun.
And so yeah, Felix Sandstrom to Philly, Sam Ersson to Lehigh.
Can you kind of walk us through there as well why you mentioned that some of the fans are up in arms about this and why everybody, in the words of Taylor Swift, they need to calm down?
I'd rather have Sam in Lehigh.
Yeah, I can understand why. But let's kind of walk everybody through it here.
Felix was on a conditioning loan, and when you send a player down for a conditioning loan, it is only 14 days long. So no matter what, Felix was going to be put back up in Philly, point blank. You're not getting rid of him. Yep. Now, Chuck Fletcher has the option of bringing up an ECHL goaltender, which would probably be Nolan Mayer, because why would it be the other one? Dan said I'm not allowed to talk about him.
I didn't necessarily say that, but go on.
Anyway, so we have the option of bringing up Nolan Mayer and keeping Pat Nagel, which both of them have done really well in net whenever they're put in net. So Nolan Mayer, Pat Nagel, keep them as the tandem in Lehigh. Chuck Fletcher either has the option of putting Felix on waivers, praying to God he doesn't get picked up, but there are teams out there right now that need goaltenders like Felix. Or he has the option of bringing Sam back up and carrying a rotation of 3 goaltenders, which would be Hart, Sandstrom, Ersson. But it is extremely, extremely difficult to put 3 goaltenders into rotation.
Yeah, that's something that you almost never see at the NHL level.
But
or even for that matter, the AHL level. It's a little more common there, but still generally you rock with your 2. And if you are in a situation where you need the third, you call somebody up. But really, that's a need more than a consistent thing.
With the moves that were made today with Reading, which is the ECHL affiliate of the Flyers, I foresee something going on right now. Caden Fulcher is an ECHL goaltender. He was loaned back from Syracuse, and Trey Bradley was let out of his standard player contract. You have to get rid of a contract in order to make something happen, because we have so many contracts right now throughout the organization. So I foresee something happening just because of what happened with Trey Bradley today. I don't know what's going to happen. I cannot predict it. I don't know anything. But when something like that happens, typically there's a move that's about to be made.
Yeah, there's some sort of it's an omen of a move, if you will, that something's coming.
I mean, my tweets were going off. Sam, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know.
Give me time to find out, guys.
I cannot wave my magic crystal ball here and be like, hey, magic 8-ball, what's going on?
I wish you could. It would make life so much easier for so many people, but unfortunately, not quite how it works.
So the next who's up, who's down, Spencer Knight to Charlotte, and then back up to Florida.
Again, conditioning stint.
They should have just called the game in the second when Spencer Knight was there. Because the score was 9-0.
Yeah. And I mean, you probably didn't need Spencer Knight to win you that game, but like, Spencer Knight's good, y'all. Like, yeah.
And yeah, good old Spencer Knight. Charlotte tweeted out "Night Cleveland" and made it KNIGT, Night Cleveland. I was
is there a team organizationally at the NHL and AHL level combined who is really just going through it this year more than the Monsters, the Blue Jackets, maybe Anaheim, the Gulls? But like, it's tough.
Springfield.
Yeah, Springfield
Been going through it.
But Columbus and Cleveland, they're in that mix too, where like for both organizations, it's not the year that anybody was hoping for either of those franchises.
And then Mac Guzda, I hope I say his name right because I've seen him play. To Florida, and then he went back to Charlotte. He backed up Alex Lyon. So Florida, you had an AHL tandem. It happens all the time. Johnny Brodzinski was sent back down to Hartford. Michael Carcone was sent to Arizona. And Kyle Criscolo was traded from Grand Rapids to San Jose.
I was a little surprised that nobody made a move at Brodzinski. I guess pleasantly surprised that he was able to get through to Hartford.
I was able to
would not have been surprised to see him have been claimed.
I was able to see Bryce Brodzinski play in the NCAA tournament last year, and he was just phenomenal.
Bryce is excellent. Yeah, that's all we had for our who's up, who's down.
Go to www.oldcitysports.com. That's old with an E, and check out all of our other podcasts, articles, and more. We have an Eagles show, Sundays for the Birds. And go Birds. Nobody really saw the beating that the Giants were going to take. Did you need us to beat somebody, or you just want us to go? I mean, I'm going to have a real hard time choosing between Hurts and Burrows. Just saying.
Oh, I think everybody knows I'm all in on the Burrow bandwagon for the rest of this season. Being in Cincinnati, like the city has just been electric since Burrow got here, but especially as good as the Bengals have been the last couple of years. Like it's been cool. But yeah, the beatdown that the Eagles put on the Giants, like the Vikings fired their defensive coordinator a couple days after the loss to the Giants, and then seeing just how badly the Eagles stomped on the Giants and how the Giants offense could do nothing against the Eagles. Like, I'm sure Ed Donatello's a great guy, but that absolutely like sealed the deal. Like, yep, he needed to go.
Yeah. It
Also tells me that Kevin O'Connell should be coach of the year for winning 13 games in spite of that defense. But that's neither here or there. Point being, go check out oldcitysports.com. We have a ton of great content there, adding daily to what we've got. So stay tuned there. And this next segment is brought to you by Neshaminy Creek Brewing. Visit www.neshaminycreekbrewing.com. Check out their awesome beers, merch, and much more. Disciplinary report. Let's get into it here. We've got something for the disciplinary report this week.
We've got some guys that were acting a fool.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Let's start with Calgary.
Yeah, Calgary Wranglers defenseman Dennis Gilbert has been suspended for 2 games. He was suspended after receiving a match penalty for an illegal check to the head of an opponent. He will miss tonight's game against Calgary's game tonight and Wednesday or tomorrow's game against Ontario.
Don't do checks to the head. You are taught that from like the day you start skating. Don't be dumb. Don't check to the head. Don't go knee on knee. And be careful around the boards.
Yeah.
It's the very, very basic. So, yep. 2 games for Gilbert. Makes sense.
And then Abbotsford. Sorry, Dan.
No, go ahead. You take that one. I'll take the last one.
Abbotsford Canucks defenseman Alex Knock-Leipert has been suspended for 1 game. He was assessed an instigator penalty within the final 5 minutes of the 3rd period, resulting in an automatic 1-game suspension under the provisions of AHL Rule 4621. He will miss Abbotsford game tonight, right now, versus Toronto.
Again, the stuff that everybody knows, it's automatic. It's coming. Don't fight in the last 5 minutes, especially taking the instigator penalty. Don't do it. And then our last one here as well. Another one that, like, come on, you don't do that. San Diego Gulls forward Hunter Drew suspended 1 game as a consequence of a match penalty for spearing. That was incurred in a game at San Jose on January 20th. Don't spear. Don't check to the head. No, it's so easy to not do those things. And yet, here we are. Visit www.norsebeards.com. Enter promo code OCS. That'll get you 25% off of your Norse Beard products. They have more than just products for your beard, even though it is a lot of beard-related content. Stuff for, like facial creams, hair products. Just take care of your hair, especially your beard if you got one. Promo code OCS, 25% off your Norse Beard products.
And then this next segment of American Beauties is brought to you by Sterling Pig Brewery out of Media, Pennsylvania. If you're ever in Media and you want to get some good beer, go check out Sterling Pig.
Also, check out Fanatics for your NHL merchandise. We'll have a promo code link in the bio, as we so often do on this show. Check them out for some awesome discounts there. We've seen discounts as high as 65 and 75% this season with this promo code. So when Sam gets this uploaded after our show tonight, because she's a rock star, that promo code will be in the bio as well. You can go check that out. Fanatics.com for your NHL merch.
I'm a tired rock star.
You are. We're almost done here, but we could not get through this week without your favorite segment, Between the Pipes, talking goaltenders. Sam's a goaltender gal if you are new to the show and haven't figured that out yet.
My goaltender friend, Jack Hudick, actually just messaged me. He's having someone special on his pod next week.
Awesome. So be sure to check that one out as well. We'll plug other shows here as well. Of course, watch ours. That's the main one to watch, but we'll plug some other shows here too. But Between the Pipes, as we teased earlier in the show, Brandon Bussi is your Between the Pipes goaltender that we're focusing on this week. He has a 12-2-4-1 record on the season, a 2.27 goals against average, and a 933 save percentage. Sam, I'm going to let you run with this segment because you are our go-to goalie gal. Tell us about the year that Brandon Bussi has had. Kind of started a little bit differently than what the path has been for some other AHL goaltenders along the way. Speaking of guests, we may have another guest on the show here making a podcast debut. Who's sneaking into the picture here, Sam?
That's my niece, Riley.
Hi, Riley. Welcome to the show.
Say hi? You can say hi.
Oh, now she's going to be shy. Okay.
She wanted to give me a hug, but it's fine.
No. Oh, that's sweet.
Goals against average of 2.27, a 0.93 save percentage. He has a 12-2-4-1 record. He replaced Kincaid on the AHL roster, and Boston reassigned the 24-year-old Bussi to Providence from their ECHL affiliate in Maine, where he had started his first full pro campaign with a 3-1-0 record and a 2.5 goals against average and a 0.922 save percentage. Bussi began his AHL season backing up Kyle Kaiser, who had started his fourth pro season exceptionally well with a 1.87 goals against average and a 93 save percentage in 6 appearances for Providence. But in the first period of the Bruins' November 5th game in Springfield, Kaiser's attempted split left him in pain on the ice, unable to continue, which is where Bussi came in.
Bussi has really been a steadying presence in net this season for Providence, who, again, as we talked about earlier in the show, really seems to have things figured out this season. And one of those teams that there we go. There's our special guest on the show tonight. Busted. Talking Brandon Bussi and talking Providence here. Again, Providence, one of those teams that we think is going to be right in the mix at the end of the season. 54 points on the year, and 3 points back of Hershey. Providence has it figured out. Boston has it figured out, and they haven't had to make a ton of moves along the way to keep the balance here. But Bussi has stepped up and been the backstop that Providence has needed. 6'5", 209 goaltender. He is a tall, one of your big boys between the pipes, of course.
Yeah, he's very tall. And when you add skates to that, they're just even taller. And it's like, hey, how's the weather up there?
Yep. Product of the Null, product of the USHL, product of NCAA hockey. He was at Western Michigan University as well. His final year there with Western Michigan, 26-12-1, a 2.55 goals against average and a 9.12 save percentage. And just has kind of worked his way up. He had a little bit of time with Providence last year, played 5 games there, 3-2-0. But as you mentioned, started the year with the ECHL. Again, we talk about teams with solid goaltending pipelines. Boston, like always seems to have good goaltending. Providence always seems to have good goaltending. And that's continued now with Bussi. And probably, I think even when we get to a point where Kyle Kaiser is back at 100%, I think we're going to see a split there in time. I think Bussi stays up. I would have a hard time imagining at this point that he goes back down to the ECHL. I certainly hope that we don't have to see him in the ECHL playoffs, but you never know.
One of the goalies that we have in Reading right now was with Maine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm not in favor of him going back, and I'm not in favor of Bussi going back. So
we'll just go ahead and leave that at that.
4-0, just saying.
Mm-hmm. No big deal. Casual.
I have my face
red. It's fine. My face is washed out. I forgot to. I realized why partway through the show. I was like, oh, that's why my shirt looks green, as Jesse talked about earlier. My ring light that I have off to the side here, I didn't change the collar temperature on it. Oh. So what I should have done much earlier because I also did this during Pod Snipe Selly earlier in the night, is change to that light where now you can see, oh, that is in fact blue and not green. As there's like 5 minutes left to our show tonight, and I finally changed it. So, but yeah, that's what I should have done earlier and didn't. So, dunk on Dan for that one. But yeah, good luck to Brandon Bussi the rest of the season. That's all we got for our show tonight. As we mentioned earlier in the show, next week, very special show coming up that we are absolutely pumped about.
There's going to be a lot of estrogen on this show, so I apologize, Dan.
There will. As we've talked about here before, we love discussing women in and around the game of hockey, elevating the voices of women in and around the game of hockey. And that's what our panel next week is going to be. We're going to have a ton of special guests on to recap the season so far. We'll have an announcement about that coming later this week as we finalize some of those details, but 8:45. So keep that in mind as well. Normally we start at 8:30 Eastern, 8:45 start time for that one. Tune in live. You are not going to want to miss this show. It's going to be a really special show that we're super excited about. Our midseason roundtable next week, 8:45. Tune in for that one.
And
Sam, do you have anything else you want to add about that show or about anything else that we've covered?
I'm going to work on getting an interview with a PA announcer, and we're actually going to have another goaltender come on the show that I'm kind of semi-friends with. Just really excited to get his perspective. He has a great story, and I'm really excited to get him on. So
we need to have some sort of a second name for this show, because American Beauties is the name of the show, but we're turning into the goalie show here a little bit. And I don't mind it. I like it. We love our goalies here.
This goaltender just has he's so just well spoken, and just really excited to have him on. I think very highly of him.
Yep. So stay tuned.
I know it's not Alex Lyon.
Someday. We'll make it happen. We'll get Alex Lyon on. We'll figure it out. We'll make that one happen. But I think that's it for tonight's show. So thank you to everybody who tuned in, everybody who commented throughout the show as well. We are live most weeks. It'll be 8:30. Next week, 8:45. But live, and you can catch us on demand wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thank you to our sponsors of the show as well. Righteous Felon, Chamonix Creek Brewing, Norse Beards, Sterling Pig, the Old City Sports Network, Fanatics. We would not be able to do the show without your support, and so we really appreciate all of you for that. But that's it for tonight's episode of American Beauties. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back next week with an awesome show, more AHL content there. In the meantime, stay tuned to Twitter for updates. For Sam Wismer, I'm Dan Bradley. Enjoy your night, everybody.
Bye, guys.